Welcome, everybody. I have with me a very special guest. Mr. Micky Patten is joining me today. And for those of you who don't know Micky, you're about to get a very good education because Micky's been in this community for years and years and years. And we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. Micky, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Oh, are you kidding? I love the way you play. So let's talk about a few things. You're from Detroit, Michigan originally, right?
Yeah.
So where in particular, any place in particular in Detroit?
The northwest suburbs. I never
Okay,
really lived in Detroit, but at the northwest suburbs.
that's
Yeah.
fine. And so you started playing bass, and I know you play bass and I know you play guitar. When did you start playing? Tell me some background about when you started playing those instruments.
Guitar, very young, 8, 9 years old, something like that. And then bass in 2009. So what was that? 13 years ago.
Oh my goodness, are you serious? You didn't
Yeah.
start playing bass until '09?
No.
Oh my God. Wow, for those people who have never heard Micky play, you really need to hear Micky play because, oh my goodness, you are an absolute amazing bass player. I mean,
Oh, well,
I've known
thanks.
you as a guitar player for years and years and years, and I knew you played bass, but I had no idea it was only like 13 years ago. That's impressive.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
So, so where did you go to school in Detroit? You said you were in the suburbs. So is there,
Yeah.
what school did you graduate from? I don't know Detroit. So is there a particular school you graduated
It
from?
was called Andover High. I don't know if many people would know that, but
Okay.
Andover in West Bloomfield, Michigan. Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Okay. And did you go to college? Was there a
Yeah.
particular college? Where did you go to college? Where did you go to university?
Well, when I was at Andover, we were able to get high school credit by taking jazz improv at Oakland University, which is in Rochester, Michigan, north of Detroit also. And the uh, credit would apply towards your graduation. So I graduated from Andover and then went to Oakland University. Then I transferred to University of Minnesota at Morris and got my degree there. And then I went back to Oakland for grad school, and I never finished my master's and did jazz studies and composition there.
Okay. So when you were in Minnesota, what were you studying? Also music, I assume?
Yep, music major. Yeah,
Okay. Was it strictly performance or were you music education? Anything in particular?
performance. Yeah,
Okay. And that would have been on guitar,
on
obviously, since
guitar.
you
Yep.
didn't pick a bass. I'm sorry. You got me on this. The fact that you played bass only starting in '09. Oh my goodness, you caught me on that one. So I'm absolutely just overwhelmed by that. And having worked with you these last couple of months over at the Jazz Jam, I'm absolutely impressed. So okay, so let's get to the major question here. So what brought you to Albuquerque? When did you get to Albuquerque, and why Albuquerque?
Well, I came here for the NAJE convention. I don't know what year it was, but I came with Jim Carlson, who was a wonderful teacher at Minnesota Morris and a trumpet player. He passed away this past December, which was really sad. But he and I came together to Albuquerque, and we had a place to stay because my brother was living here. He opened a pizza shop. So then when I graduated there and I went to Oakland University, my brother called me and said, "What are you doing?" Well, I was playing in bands and teaching at a music store. And I said, "Not much." And he said, "Well, come on down." So that's how I ended up here.
Okay. That's simple, right?
Yeah. Back then, you didn't have many things tying you to any place, you know. And
Okay.
by the way, never went back to Michigan once.
You haven't been back to Michigan at all.
No, never went back one time. That was how many years ago now?
Oh.
80, 82 to now, 40 years, and I never went back once.
Sorry. Oh, I love it. This is see, and this is extremely enlightening to me. So your brother had a pizza shop. If you don't mind, do you remember the name of the pizza shop?
Dion's Pizza, still
Oh,
going. Yeah.
oh my
He
God.
was one of the founders of Dion's Pizza. Yeah.
Serious. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
That's what he did. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, see, I didn't know that. See, there's
Way
another
more
tidbit.
successful than me there. You know?
Well, Dion's is all over New Mexico. Heck,
Yeah.
I even think it's outside of New Mexico now. So, and your brother, I already know this isn't about you, but your brother, is he still involved? Is he still alive? I mean,
Oh yeah, he and his partner owned property that they leased to Dion's, but they sold down to 10% interest in the company. I don't know, 4 years ago, I'm going to say, or so. So he's on the board of directors and all that kind of stuff, but he's really not involved in the day-to-day stuff anymore.
yeah, but I'll tell you what, he sure makes a good income, even at 10%.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he does okay.
It's a great company. In 1982, you founded Grandma's Music and Sound with Brad Clement.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
I went to every music store, having worked at one in Michigan. I went to every music store and applied. No one hired me. Talking to my brother, and he said, well, open your own store. So I did. I sold my stuff that I brought from Michigan and put it on the floor, and had $1,000 to do a Coast Wholesale order, which is the jobber that would sell you strings and picks and so forth, and accessories and a few cheap instruments, and leased a space over at Wantabo and Lomas in what we used to call the architecturally magnificent Manzano Shopping Center. And it was 1,200 square feet. And I used to say the service department was so small that you had to open the door to fall down. And then Brad came to work for me. We weren't partners; he was an employee, but a great guy, and that's how the store started.
So back then, I mean, running a business is not easy. I mean, it's not. Any kind of retail business, even back in the 80s and 90s, retail business was just a lot of work. It still is, mind you, but it was a lot of work back then. So how was business when you first started?
The first day, well, we were blessed in that the store was right at the back door of the Manzano guitar department, which was a thriving under David Ostrovitz, who went to the same high school in Michigan that I went to. He had a great program there. And so we had kids coming in at lunchtime and after school and stuff, and buying instruments and accessories and taking lessons. And so we were very fortunate that I picked that spot, and I had no idea at the time that his program was at Manzano High School, which was right behind us. So I lucked out. So business was good.
Okay. I mean, I remember grandmas. I remember my brother and I would come into grandmas. I remember I used to come in and I'd buy equipment, and my brother would buy equipment, and we'd buy, I think that's where I got my first sound system from, is from you guys.
Yeah,
Is when I bought my first, yeah, I think I bought my first sound system there from you guys. So in 1999, right? 1999, you moved and you doubled in size and you opened a larger store. I don't remember exactly where that store was located though.
We went from Manzano Shopping Center at Lomas and Wantabo, 17 miles to the west by the freeways, and we opened at Paseo and Coors.
Oh, wait. Okay. I thought that I guess not. I thought you had moved from the Wantabo store to a different store and then went to the west side. No, you went from the original location out to the west side?
Well, what we did at Manzano Center is, as the store grew, we had our little 1,200 foot space. Then the pet store next to us went out of business. So we broke through the wall and we added more square feet there. Then we moved 3 doors down behind Village Inn, and we added 2 times to that. Then we moved across the parking lot and to 13,000 square feet, and that was our biggest store there. Then after that, we moved to the west side and we built a building at 15,000 square feet. So that was in 2004.
Right.
We moved to the west side.
So your business was thriving in such that you were able to take over the store next to you, move, and then you had a big corner section of that shopping mall. That's the one that I remember when it was like
Yeah.
that big corner section.
Yeah.
That's where I remember, because that's where I remember coming in and buying a speaker system from you, and I think I bought my keyboard from you, and that's where because you were the place in Albuquerque to buy electronics, keyboards, guitars, drums, basses, anything and everything that was electronic. Everybody came to your store.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
what was the idea about moving out to the west side in 2004 when you had that building built? Was it designed to kind of capitalize on the idea of the west side growing? Was that the idea?
Yeah, we leased for so long that we thought, okay, well, it's probably a good investment to have your own building, and you don't, once you pay it off, you don't have a mortgage or lease payments anymore. And we took a map of the area and stuck a pin in it right where the center of growth was. There was a downside to that too. On the east side, after 4 p.m., we were always busy. That's when it got busy, 4 p.m. till 6 or 6:30 or so. On the west side, nobody wanted to deal with Paseo unless they lived over there. So our business went down after 4 p.m., which we weren't used to. It wasn't really a very smart move.
Really?
It made sense on paper, but it didn't work out so well.
I remember coming out right after you guys opened and walking in and just being absolutely overwhelmed because of the way you set up the store. I mean, it reminded me of some of the big gigantic stores that I walked into in some of the big cities, like in New York and Florida and some of those other places I got to visit. You had guitars over here, and you had basses over here, and you had keyboards over here, and you had all the speaker systems and all the other stuff and the DJ stuff on one side. I thought you guys organized it real well, but it's interesting that you point out that because of the growth that it really became an issue, because Paseo del Norte, in the early 2000s was just monstrously busy. They hadn't really expanded Alameda yet. They hadn't, at that time, I don't think they'd built Montano yet, had they?
It was 2 lanes, and then before it was 4 lanes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm okay. So
the traffic was a real issue on the west side. It was really, people didn't want to cross the river, and I don't blame them. I live on the west side of the river now. I don't want to cross the river at rush hour to go in the other way even. And the going home direction is even worse.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I understand. When we lived on the west side out there at Golf Course and Paradise Hills Boulevard area, and we lived there for the longest time, and traffic was horrible. Absolutely horrible. And I get that.
And Paseo was particularly bad because if anything happened on Paseo, it became a parking lot. There was no escape route.
Nope. And by the time you tried to get all the way over to the highway or whatever, it was not a very fun experience until they expanded Montano to 4 lanes, and then they, rebuilt Alameda. And that was not a fun experience. So in 2017, after all those years in business, you decided to close. Why? I mean, were you just kind of like, I'm done? Or was there any particular reasoning behind it?
Well, business was going down, and we were back in the 80s and 90s. The 800 numbers ruled, so we were selling stuff almost coast to coast, but a lot of stuff out of state because we had an 800 number. We would advertise in Mix Magazine, Electronic Musician, and so forth, and it was 800-444-5252, and there was thoroughbred music in Florida and Rhythm City in Georgia, and then grandmas in Albuquerque. And, we were a pretty thriving business. Then the internet started getting bigger and bigger. We developed our website early on, but after a while, we got our butts handed to us.
Yeah.
Website. There was Sweetwater, there was Musician's Friend, there was,
Sam Ash.
yeah, Music 123, a lot of really good online marketers, and we weren't able to compete anymore that way. So then, and locally, a lot of people, selection became an issue for local music stores our size. Now, for smaller stores, it wasn't an issue, but for a store our size that had a lot of employees and stuff, people didn't understand why you didn't have every finish of every Fender guitar in stock. So they might see the blue one there, but they wanted the red one. Well, they'll go online and order it. So we wouldn't get this anyways. Business went down. My wife and I had done it long enough where Patty ran the books at the store, where we were just like, we're going to sell it. And we decided to sell it to our manager, Ryan, who was Brad Clement's brother, who worked at the store since 1986. Been a longtime employee, really the backbone of the business in a lot of ways. So he was going to buy it. We were going to move it across the street. We had the building sold. And then I had a heart-to-heart talk with him, and he decided not to. So we decided just to close it.
Okay. Well, and it's just one of those things that it was such a staple for so long. And then when it closed, I was just like, oh no. And we always say this, and I'm just as guilty as anyone else. We always say this, gosh, it's too bad that store is closing. I love that store, but when was the last time you went in there? When was the last time you bought something from them?
Right.
It's the same thing. And I, like I said, I was just as guilty of it when you said you were going out of sale. I think I came in and I said hello to everybody and I wished you guys luck. But yeah, it was just one of those, that's too bad kind of things. But in the long run, I think that, you were probably better off because with the way the market was going and the way things were going. And then, as you said, you can't compete because somebody could come in and say, oh, well, I like that. Can you match this price of some online retailer? And you're like, no, I can't do that. And well, they'll go buy it at the online retailer because it's cheaper.
Price was never an issue, though. We could always match the price. The selection was the issue.
Oh, okay.
That was the issue. Pricing was never an issue with us. We were always a huge discounter. In fact, one of the reasons I decided to open this store is because when I got to Albuquerque, I went and bought guitar strings, and they charged me list price. And I was like, what? I haven't played list price for guitar strings my whole life.
Right.
And so it was like a void in the market. There wasn't a discount store here, but and then the online thing was just a convenient way to shop. But it still is.
Right. Oh no, and I get that. And so tell me, and I don't think I mentioned this, or I don't think I asked this yet. How did you came up with the name Grandma's Music and Sound? How did you come up? Is any particular way you came up with that one?
In Minnesota, up in Duluth, Minnesota, on Lake Superior, there was a restaurant, which is the only place around there that had jazz, called Grandma's. And when I was driving here, I thought, okay, if you open a store, that's a good, catchy name. So
yeah, Grandma's. That's awesome. Okay. I just didn't know if there was any other reference there. I didn't know if I was missing something or not. So let's talk about you being a musician. Do you have, like I said, I played with you playing guitar. Matter of fact, earlier in the year, we were both filling in for the Albuquerque Jazz Orchestra, and you were on guitar for Mike Anthony. I was filling in for Paul Gonzalez. So I know you play guitar, and now I know you play bass, which still astounds me that I'm sorry, it still astounds me. So do you have a preference? Do you prefer to play bass, or do you prefer to play guitar, or is it just equal?
Equal. I love both instruments. I prefer to practice guitar than the bass, which is a lot more physical and challenging and so forth. But I love both instruments. It's completely different roles, in the band, which gives you a good perspective. I think playing the guitar or piano or anything gives you a nice perspective on the bass.
Okay.
That I think most good bass players play another instrument.
Okay. Well, and it's interesting because I know you play upright. Do you also play electric?
Little bit, yeah.
Okay. All right. I
Mhm.
was just curious because I love the way you play. Like I
Oh,
said, I've always liked the way you play guitar. I've always been a big fan of your guitar because I know you teach for the jazz workshop and you do improvisational classes and you do a lot of workshops and stuff like that. But as a bass player, your lines are always so sweet and moving. It's
sure.
not like, some bass players, they always play the same thing over and over. You've got this really beautiful melodic lines that you love to play on. So
Oh,
my
well, thanks.
compliments to you on that. So do you have any recordings that you have done as a leader that are
No,
out there? No, really?
no, never did
Serious?
that. I
What
don't
about,
record much at all. I'm not really into it even. Never have
okay.
been.
What about as a sideman? Have you ever done any recordings as a,
Only
really?
the only recordings I have of me recently are just stuff I played in. It's just concert stuff, and of course the club stuff doesn't get recorded, but it's kind of just the concerts, and I might go listen to them a few times just to see what I can improve on. But never really been. I'm one of those people that think notes should be performed; they should float out into space, never to return. Now that's not for everybody. It's just the way
That's
I
true.
feel.
That's true. Well, now you can't say that about original songs, but because I know you played a couple of weeks ago, you played one of your originals in honor of John, I think when he
Oh
got
yeah.
sick. So was that
Straight no
straight?
fever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
straight no fever. I thought that was a catchy title. But so now I heard you recently when you played with Bobby Shue at the Outpost performance space when Bobby was doing his thing. So you rehearse with Bobby a lot with him and you play with him a lot. And I'm surprised that you haven't recorded any of that at
Well,
all.
just the concerts, that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will put a link down below for the concert that you guys played with Bobby because I was sitting in the audience and I was absolutely flabbergasted. And then recently you did a guitar lab trio with Vic and Michael, and you guys did a thing at Outpost, and I didn't have a chance to see that one live, but that one I got to see the live stream, and that was also pretty cool to listen to.
Yeah,
Do
no,
you do
great
you
players. Yeah.
do you rehearse with them on a regular basis?
Every Monday.
Every Monday. Okay.
Bobby's on Friday, Michael and Vic are on Monday.
I think it's great. I
I'm a
think those
lucky
guys,
guy.
those guys, I was listening to them just the other day. I happened to put it on again and I was listening to them and I'm thinking, boy, they really just all three of you jive. Now you had Sid playing piano, Sid Finley on piano, and I don't remember who the drummer was,
Donald
but
Bailey Jr. on that
okay.
one.
Yeah, that was just, I'll try to get that link down in there too, because that was just really, really cool to listen to. You
Yeah.
guys have a really good rapport. So, well, I'm sorry that you don't have recordings, but I'll get the concert stuff on there and I'll make sure the link is down below. So let's talk about your jazz jam. The Cactus Cats, I guess, is what Cactus Brewery calls
Uh-huh.
you guys. You guys just celebrated your 1 year anniversary
That's
at the
right.
Wednesday Jazz Jam session at the Cactus Brewery in Bernalillo. And it's you on bass, Alex Merzen on tenor, John Funkhauser on piano, who also doubles on bass when you're not playing a lot. And then also John Trentacosta on drums. You guys sound amazing.
Well,
Absolutely
thanks.
amazing.
Thanks.
It's such a wonderful it's such a wonderful environment. It's outside and that place can get packed. Oh my goodness. Last week was pretty crazy. There were everybody there. I think there was probably, I'm trying to think, 3 or 4 different drummers, a couple of different piano players, and probably about a dozen of us word players all trying to sit in.
That was cool. I loved it.
Oh, I thought it was absolutely great. You guys, so how did that get started? I'm curious. Tell me are you technically the leader of the group and
Yeah, it's
how
my
did you
gig. Yeah.
manage that? I mean, how did you manage to get that one?
I went to hear Jim Casey had a jazz night there with Michael Anthony, and I went to hear it. And I was talking to Stu Penner there, and we were talking. I said, well, what's going on Wednesdays? And he said, nothing. I said, well, why don't we do a jazz night on Wednesday? And he said, well, you'd be the guy to do it. And he took me inside and talked to Dana. And the following week we did jazz night on Wednesday. It was pretty much that simple.
You know, it's a lot of fun, and anybody who is in Albuquerque or Santa Fe, Bernalillo, Rio Rancho, you know, I always tell everybody, come on out. Even if you don't want to play, you get to hear a lot of different people. All these guys who come out on the instruments, on the wind instruments, it's pretty crazy to listen to, and I've gotten a lot of good ideas. So, you know, from a personal standpoint, I appreciate the fact that you call me up. I
enjoy hearing you.
I love it. It's so nice. All right, what else can we talk about? Oh yeah. So you are an in-demand guitar player and bass player here in town. And I see your name playing a lot of places. Tell me we've talked about some of the groups you play with, like I said, the Guitar Lab Trio, and you work with Bobby on a regular basis, and you have the Jazz Cats on Wednesdays. What other groups or what other places are you playing at on a regular basis? Anything in particular?
Well, I don't think anything's regular, but I play with the Al DeMarco Trio quite often. Michael and I, we only did it once this year. We do the Charlie Christian project, and that was with Dave Anderson last time. Usually Cal Haynes on drums, but last time it was John Trinacosta on drums, and then Diane Richardson. We usually have a project every year. Scott Hooker and Jana Nelson I play with regularly. The Brazilian group Saudade is pretty regular. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out.
It's okay.
And so then I do sub work too, occasionally, you know.
Right. And I mean, that means you keep busy, which just goes to show you how good of a player you are.
I have holes in my schedule too, so plenty of them.
Oh, that's okay. I think when people go to look and they see your name involved with whatever project, they're like, oh, wait, that's someone I know. And that says a lot for your ability to play. Well, so my congratulations to you on that. So you teach for the Jazz Workshop. You do some master classes and you do some other classes. Which classes are you teaching this year for the Jazz Workshop for the adult education?
I do jazz improvisation.
Okay. And that one's starting up real soon, isn't it?
In October, Michael Anthony does his jazz guitar class, and then we follow it in the same time slot, 6 to 7:30 on Monday evenings.
Okay. And is that an in-person thing, or is that strictly online?
In person. I did it on Zoom once, and I said no after that. Well, it's a team sport, and if you're not sitting there live with a bass and drums and piano and stuff, you know, good luck, you know.
Yeah. Oh, no, I get it. I understand. It's a class that I've always wanted to take, but you do it on Monday nights, and I'm participating at the Albuquerque Concert Band. And so I can't, because I have rehearsal I have to be there like at 6:30 and I'm not home till 9:30. Oh, wow. So it's not a class that if you ever do it on another night, I'll sign up, I promise.
Okay, I'll let them know that.
Yeah, well, they're not going to change it just for me, but that's something. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, if you change the nights, I will come out and I will do it, because that's something that I always need work on improv. I use Band in a Box, and, you know, I go through and I'll hit tunes. It's like, when the guy called probably about a month ago, somebody called Autumn Leaves, and he called it in E minor. And I learned it I think it was in
G minor.
Yeah, I learned it in G minor. And I was like, I don't know this key. Wait. So the very next day, Christine, do you know who Christine Fawson is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Christine, we were getting together, we played duets, and then we worked on that for like an hour.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I need to work on this in this key in case somebody calls this again. So do you also teach private lessons?
No, just the improv at the Jazz Workshop.
Okay. All right. Well,
one thing I'll tell you about the course at the Jazz Workshop, though, if anybody interested in taking it. It's unusual in that we try to talk very little in there. When you walk in, the rhythm section's playing and we jump right in, and then we might discuss something for a minute or two, but right back to playing, because I think that's the best way to learn to improvise, is get in there. The heady stuff, you know, you can read about and so forth. The actual playing and learning to play together and relaxing and so forth is what we try to get to.
Okay. Well, and that's, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, I'll take my program and I will literally just take the A section and I will just repeat it and repeat it.
There you go.
Repeat
Beautiful.
it, trying to get the idea and listen to what's going on. And then I'll take the bridge and I'll do the same thing. And then, like I said, I was working on Autumn Leaves. I went back and then I played the whole thing. And I probably put about 15 choruses on as the whole thing. But it was kind of like, I got to hear the A and then I got to hear the bridge. And then it's just like, I kept going. So that's what that's
like wonderful. That's a wonderful strategy. And you do that at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I do it at home. But you know what? I'd join your class in a heartbeat. So you let me know if that ever changes days.
I will
join you. So I have time for one last question for you. I always ask this because I love musician story. Strangest gig, funniest gig, give me an anecdote or a story of something that happened that you can share. Anything in particular?
Back in the 70s, we had a fusion group, and we were excited to get to play at the Michigan State Fair. And this wasn't even the state fair proper. It was some other thing that was there.
Yeah, like a regional.
And we get to the gig, and it's a big stage like we've never seen before, and there's a sound man and stuff, and we were so excited. And we set up and we start, doing our sound check, and we find out that there's a helicopter ride landing behind us. And when it was coming in to land and taking off, you couldn't even hear the band. It didn't matter what we were playing. So that's probably the strangest one I've ever done.
So you guys are playing along and you have a helicopter ride taking off and landing behind you.
Yeah.
And not blowing you guys over.
No.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, I love stories like that. Well, listen, thank you very much for your time, Micky Patten. I enjoy your music. I enjoy working with you. I hope one day that I get to hire you for a gig, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. But one day I'll get a chance to work with you one-on-one, and we'll get to do this. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. We'll see you next time.